Now, in the Muslim world in the Middle Ages, you had the actual spread of Islam. In the Umayyad times, you had the spread of this large state, but you didn't have the spread of the religion of Islam that much. I showed that it spread in North Africa, and the fact that it spread there realized the caliph's fears because it broke up their empire and ended the Umayyad dynasty. Even though the part of it, as I said, fled to Spain, oddly, the very area that the revolt had emerged from ended up to be the refuge for the Umayyads once they had been humbled. The second area that became Muslim was Central Asia. Interestingly, also not bordering Arabia, but like North Africa, far removed from it. Central Asia became Muslim second. And just as the North African Muslims had broken the unity of the caliphate by seceding, in effect, the Central Asian Muslims came pounding down with their large armies to throw out the Umayyads. In other words, they backed the Abbasids. Now, the Abbasids had, of course, an Arab origin in the male line, if you traced it back, the Abbasid caliphs, but all of their people came from what is called Khorasan, which in those days meant basically what is today Turkestan, northeast Iran, northern Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. That's what I mean when I'm talking Central Asia here. That area became Muslim next. This is the next area. So an advanced process of Islamization was going on in the period of a little over 100 years, or say about 100 years after the Prophet's death. That area was going through rapid Islamization. People were turning from their native religions to Islam. What were the native religions there? Well, nobody knows. There's no reliable statistical figures to tell you exactly what the religious situation was in one area or another. It is highly probable that in that area, first of all, the dominant religion may have been Buddhism. That might sound funny, but Buddhism, went from India through Pakistan, Afghanistan, Central Asia, and around the Himalaya mountains, in other words, to China, and also around Tibet, which although today it is considered to be the paradigmatic Buddhist country by some, nevertheless long resisted Buddhism and had its own religion, kept Buddhism out till I think the 14th century. And then the Tibetans accepted Buddhism and became so Buddhist after that. So Buddhism had to go around the Himalaya mountains and the Tibetan plateau and reach China, and Central Asia had it. But on the other hand, it's not certain how much it was, because there were also Zoroastrians, there were Nestorian Christians, there were Jews, and there were almost certainly other religions about which nothing is known. Especially Manichaeism. If you remember, Augustine had been a Manichae for a while, which were a species of dualists who took a lot of their religion from the Iranian religion, but they weren't Zoroastrians. And they had a great influence on religious history in the Roman Empire for a while. And they spread in Central Asia, and the Manichaeans were there as well. So there's quite a mixture of religions, actually, that were already there. And who became Muslims amongst all of these religions? Well, eventually everyone did in the area. That is, Central Asia is one of the areas where the pre-existing religions didn't survive to much of an extent. There were a few Jews there still, but Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, Nestorian Christianity completely vanished, and Manichaeism. Anyway, and that process was a voluntary one. In the Quran, it says, there is no compulsion in religion. That is a verse that everyone should take note of. That is 2:256. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:256. There is no compulsion in religion. And in so few words, that it can be taken as two things, both of which apply. One is, it's a truth, because you can never compel anybody to believe anything. That never happened in the history of the world, that anybody was compelled to believe anything. And if compulsion occurred in a place which led to that place following that religion, There is a complicated process that happened which went along over a period of time. And it was not possible that you could compel people and they believed something. That's just impossible. It never happened. And secondly, it's a commandment not to compel anyone. In fact, it's completely illegal in Islamic law to compel a non-Muslim to embrace Islam and to say they believe and they don't. If you say you believe, you're supposed to believe. And you're not invited to come and say you believe if you don't believe. Well, I've had people come when I've been in a mosque on Friday saying they want to become a Muslim. And sometimes I administer the Shahada to them and they become Muslims. But it's happened about 2 or 3 times that someone isn't sufficiently sure or they don't know what they're doing. And then I say, well, go home and think about it because you don't want to take that lightly. And therefore, the Muslims are not to compel anyone to believe. And on the whole, the history of Islam doesn't have a history of compulsion of anyone to believe or to become Muslim or state that they are Muslims. And on the whole, with some exceptions, Christianity doesn't have that history either, generally speaking. There were, of course, some exceptions to that. And there may have been some exceptions in the history of Islam that took place under political leaders who were not aware of the religious ruling on this point. But generally, that was never how Islam spread. And so when the Umayyad Caliphate waxed large like that as a political state, that didn't mean at all that the inhabitants became Muslims. That took a long time. And it depended completely on the place and the time and the pre-existing systems of belief, the social situation. Yes?
I want to back up to your statement about Christianity not overall having compelled people to believe. I see the whole history as almost nothing but a compulsion on people to believe.
Well,
it was adopted as the official religion of the Roman Empire when Columbus came to the New World. I mean, it's just compulsion, 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 compulsion.
Well, the New World, the American Indians, that is true. And then there is also some encouragement of people to believe in the Islamic system where you had the tax taken from the non-Muslims, for example, was a tax distinct from the tax the Muslims paid. And it hasn't been established historically whether the Muslims or the non-Muslims paid more tax in that case. In any case, most of the tax came from land tax, and the Muslims and non-Muslims alike throughout Muslim history have had to pay that. So there was always some encouragement to join the religion in the place. Yes?
Are you, though, making a distinction when you were saying nobody can be compelled to believe? Somebody can be compelled to pretend they believe. Right. And live under that rule, saying, yes, that like during the Inquisition, yes, I've become a Catholic, but that doesn't mean they're believing us. It means they're...
Well, the thing is, for centuries, the people often would resist. Like you have the Marranos in Spain resisting Christianization for centuries and maintaining some memory of being Jews or indeed Muslims, because there are also crypto-Muslim people in Spain after the Reconquista there. So there is definitely that you cannot compel people. You can perhaps more effectively compel people not to desert a church or a religion once it is ensconced in a place. You can probably put more rules down that help to discourage that. But even so, a religion mainly is at the service of the people in a place. Yes? You want to have a break now? All right, fine.